All right, hey, Enoch here, and I have a very, very important message for you. As a matter of fact, the heed to which you pay attention to this message really is going to have a major impact on the rest of your architectural career. And I know that's a bold claim, but bear with me and let me tell you what I mean. So I'm going to tell you about an architect. I'm not going to reveal who this person is, but this is an actual person, and it's a common story. It's not an uncommon story. So this architect started a firm a couple years ago, grew through referrals and through word of mouth. The economy was good, and so there was a lot of projects coming in. Quickly grew the team to about 5 people. Okay, so nice little architectural practice with 5 team members. Great. Right now, one of the things that's common with small firm practitioners is that we have hesitancy, fear, anxiety. We worry about growing. Like we don't really want to grow. Right? So this is common. So it's common for small architectural practices like, I don't want to grow, I don't want to become a big 30-person firm, I kind of want to get to this manageable point. And the whole reason that we do this, consider, is because we want to make it manageable, because we see growth as meaning more work. Right? We see growing as meaning more headaches. That means we have to feed the beast more, because these are all the problems that we're dealing with when we're a small scale. We're worried about how do we feed the beast, how do we charge enough money to pay expenses. If we hire employees, now we're having to be able to be responsible for their payroll, etc. Okay? Now, what ends up happening is this puts small practices in a very, very difficult and untenable position. And it's simply this, that when the economy starts to go down, because these practices have grown based upon word of mouth referrals. So just consider this for a second. The reason they were able to grow is not because they were spectacular business developers or really good marketers or really good promoters or really good people at being able to go out and practically getting work. No, the reason they were able to get to the size they got to was because of the circumstances. They just found themselves in fortuitous circumstances, shall we say, that were beneficial to growing. Okay. Now, you may be a 2-person firm, a 3-person firm, or a 4-person firm, but if you fit in this category, if you can look back at your firm and you can say, okay, the reason why I got here was because we rode the wave, because we got good word of mouth, because projects just came to us. This has a very, very dangerous dark side. As strange as this sounds, I know it sounds very counterintuitive, because what ends up happening is once those tides turn, once those waves stop, once the wind goes down on the water and the water is still, suddenly these practices are in a very, very painful place, because they're faced with cash flow issues. They're faced with having to consider furloughing staff or laying off staff, which none of us wants to do, because it's so difficult and challenging, and it's really special to be able to hire someone and find the right person for your team. Having to let them go, it feels like a big failure. It's not something we want to do to anyone else, and so this puts us in a bad position. Okay? So the question is, consider that your intuition is giving you secrets about how to be successful all the time. So this is one thing we teach in Smart Practice, is that your internal voice, your internal intuition is your best teacher. And the more you're able to dial into your own internal tuition with regard to the goal, where you're headed, that North Star, it's going to guide you correctly, right? When you pair that up with good strategies, good advice, and good thinking, all right? Now, let's go back to this idea of this fear of growth that architects have, that we have as architects, that I had when I was running a practice. It's common, right? So when we look at this, we can say, okay, perhaps what is this message telling us? This internal compass that's telling us that I'm worried about growing, that I don't want to grow too fast, or I want to keep my firm small. What is this telling me? Well, consider that what it may be telling you is that your firm's vulnerable in some aspect. That's why you don't want to grow. And when you look into this, say, okay, what vulnerability am I worried about? Well, the vulnerability you're worried about is not having enough work, and not having the right work, not having fees that pay enough to be able to support the team members and the expenses you currently have. Okay? So this is the beautiful thing, because now we can listen, we can say, okay, my intuition, my internal voice is teaching me something. It's telling me that I'm vulnerable. Now that we know we're vulnerable, we're like, okay, what can I do about this vulnerability? What can I do about this vulnerability? Right? Now in Smart Practice, we have 4 different quadrants, 4 pillars of the Smart Practice. We have pillar number 1 is power, pillar number 2 is production. When we talk about production, production is the ability of you as an individual to be able to go out into the marketplace and to be able to just make money, to be able to bring your services to market, to be able to connect and network with the right people, to be able to turn those relationships into projects proactively. despite what's happened in the economy, which means you have the ability to pivot, you have the ability to partner, you have the ability to promote, you have the ability to enroll people in conversations, you have the ability to charge high fees even if other practices are undercutting. So you have the ability to enter into conversations with clients where price isn't the limiting factor, where you can have bigger and better conversations. We can table price, we can say, okay, look, we're going to come to an agreement about price, but first of all, let's figure out if we're even a fit together, right? When you have this skill, this then opens up freedom, it opens up peace of mind, and it gets you out of this place where you're worried about growing. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to grow, but what it does mean is that it takes away the fear of having to be reactive in the way that you're running your practice. It takes away the fear of worrying about the downturn, because we know that a recession is going to happen. We know here in the United States anyways, interest rates have gone up. The Fed is crazy about the way they're printing money. Politics are just completely divisive. And so we can't depend upon the economy to always be our source of income, of stability, of consistency, right? This is where we need to look at ourselves. You need to look at yourself as your own most valuable asset and say, okay, right now, when I'm in this position right now, what can I do? What is the universe, what is my internal voice telling me that I need to do to be able to make myself not vulnerable? So consider that one of the key skill sets that you can have as an architect is becoming what we call a producer or a rainmaker. A producer, a rainmaker, a producer, a rainmaker. A producer is someone who can actually make it rain. They have the ability to go out there and make work. And the beautiful part about this is that when you get this skill, it doesn't matter, rain or shine, you're going to be able to survive. You're not only going to be able to survive, but you're going to be able to thrive. Because here's the cold, hard truth. Most architects are so busy doing what they're doing and so comfortable doing what they're doing that they don't want to put themselves through the process of having to learn a new skill set, having to maybe put ourselves outside of our comfort zone. But here's what I can tell you. If you're willing to stretch the boundaries of your comfort zone. In other words, what you're comfortable doing. If you're willing to grow your skill sets, if you're willing to grow your attributes, if you're willing to grow your attitudes, if you're willing to grow your mindsets, then what's going to open up for you is prosperity like you never could have imagined before. What's going to open up for you is peace of mind like you couldn't have imagined before. What's going to open up for you is you living your best life. So the invitation I have for you today is this. Where in your world are you not investing in yourself? Where in your world are you avoiding this conversation of getting yourself and your firm visible through a proactive strategy, like gaining the skill of how to do this? Because it's a skill. And in general business terms, the skills you can look at, there's books on marketing and there's books on sales. These two books are going to be the books and the courses and the teachings that are going to help you learn the powerful skill set of becoming a rainmaker. Now, you got a couple options here. You could go out there in the world and you could read 100 books, you could attend business seminars, you could hire coaches, you could go to online training courses, you could do all that. You could spend $1 million or more self-training yourself on how to do this stuff. Or you could come join us at Business of Architecture, where we already have a careful plan laid out for you called the Smart Practice Method, where we will help you make the shift into a rainmaker, take control of your own destiny as a small firm owner, and start living your best life. Now, let's say you feel like you're already a rainmaker. Hey, Enoch, no worries. The economy could crash tomorrow, and I'm confident in my ability to be able to make it rain. I would absolutely crush it. Well, step number 2 in the Smart Practice Method, shift number 1 is becoming a rainmaker. Shift number 2 is becoming an operator. What I mean by an operator, I use the term operator in the sense of the Navy SEAL team, SEAL Team 6, right? So the Navy SEALs have this wonderful word they use, operator, and what that means is an operator is someone that can be depended upon to get the job done, right? So step number 1 is becoming the rainmaker, getting the work in. Step number 2 is an operator, meaning that using people, process, systems, and optics to be able to create the structure whereby you have a smooth running firm. After that, then you can move into the next critical shifts to becoming a free architect that are on the path that we talk about in Smart Practice. Now, if you're dealing with any of the following, overwhelm, worry about growing, not being able to hire the right people, working more than you'd like, or maybe working really hard and not feeling like you're making the money that you really should be making or deserve for all the hard work that you're doing. Maybe you're even sacrificing time with your family. Maybe you're just not being able to be mentally present when you are with your family. And as a result, your life is just completely dissolving. Days are going by, days are going by, days and days and days. Those days and days will turn into years. Those years will turn into decades. Those decades will turn into a century. And then before you know it, there's a bird's going to take a crap on your gravestone. And you're going to look back and you're going to say, I could have done so much more. I could have had a better relationship with my kids. I could have been there. I could have cultivated a better relationship with my spouse. I could have filled that inner hole in my heart that I was seeking for that I never was able to fill. Okay? The time to do this is right now. So my invitation to you is simply this. If you haven't already, go check out our 60-minute free firm owner masterclass. Go to smartpracticemethod.com. If you're one of our current clients who's already in Smart Practice, then this message is for you. Here's my invitation to you. Focus on acquiring the skills of becoming a rainmaker. Okay? That's what it's about. We're here to teach you these skills. We've spent over $1 million in my own personal self-education, Ryan's self-education, the training and content that we've delivered to our clients over the years. You are in an incredible environment here to absorb a skill set that will last you for the rest of your life, for your own personal prosperity. So take it seriously, do the work, and whatever you do, don't use the excuse that I'm overwhelmed. If you're getting into the excuse of complaint that I'm overwhelmed, I can't do the work, this is too much, reach out to one of our Business of Architecture coaches. We'll have a meeting with you, because this is probably the #1 obstacle to you living your best life, is giving up the excuse of being overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is simply an excuse for not doing what we should do, not prioritizing correctly, and focusing on the unimportant urgent things as opposed to the important and non-urgent things. In other words, the things that don't need to be done right now, but they are very important in the long term. All right. For more information, go to smartpracticemethod.com.